words. That's Torero Talk. That's right, because you are entering the world, the mysterious world and mind of this magnificent genius right here. Ooh, you see it. You can feel it. I feel the vibe, the chi coming from the ground and the gut. The chi is coming up. Oh, oh, oh. Yes. Orgasmic, isn't it? Yes. All right. Anyhow, it's time for the Jesse T Show. It's good to have you along with us. Thank you very much for raising that up just a little bit. Yes, that's very nice of you. Okay. And we are on Instagram Live over here. Jesse and the Fancy Cats. You know, Jesse and the Fancy Cats has become quite a very famous viewer of the Jesse T Show. He is a autistic singer out of New Jersey. He's had autism his whole life, and he put together an act with other autistic singers, and they go around to different nightclubs and karaoke's. They started in karaoke, and they're autistic, and they sing the songs. It's really kind of cool. I saw one of their videos, and they're pretty darn good, you know, and so, I mean, you got to check him out. Jesse and the Fancy Cats. Check him out, okay? He has us on saying hi to Bobby Bowden and Don Smith. You know, that's a nice, regular, easy name. Don Smith. That's just a nice, easy, regular, simple name. Some of these names that people come up with, that you guys come up with online, it's pretty fantastic. I mean, you come up with some of the craziest stuff. It is amazing, and it's so crazy that most of the time, I can't even figure it out, but I did get some new glasses, and I was asked today how come I'm not wearing them, because I had to take them back because they got to make some adjustments on them, but I can actually see. It's unbelievable. You know, it's like when you have these 99-cent special glasses that I have on for so long, because, you know, glasses are really expensive, and, you know, I didn't want to spend too much money buying glasses. I mean, I got one prescription, $600 for glasses. Well, I went to I didn't go there. I was like, you know, man, I'm not going to go spend $600 for a couple of glasses. So Mama T found someplace for us to go. $69 for 2 sets of glasses. 2 for 69. Hey, I like 69 twice, you know? And we can invert it and do the 96. Yeah, right on. I'm telling you. 3 for the price of 1. Yes, but so we found a place. Yeah, man, this one Lens Crafters was like enormous. So expensive. So I went to the guy, you know, who did the workup on my eyeballs, right? And his place was, you know, expensive, of course. And I said, God, you know, so I just didn't buy any glasses. I went and bought some more 99-cent specials. And that's 6 months ago. Yeah, they're reading and far away glasses. So I have 2 sets of glasses. I was going to get the ones that kind of melt from the top to the bottom and yeah, bifold. But these are going to be trifolds because the computer is this far, a book is this far, and everybody else is that far, right? So, but the bottom of the glass would be like enormously thick, you know, and yeah, no, I'm just too vain for that, man. It would remind me of my dad, you know. He's got these like glasses that are like huge, right? And he doesn't even need to wear glasses. Saying hi to Sal Cimental Escamilla. Thank you, boy. That's one of those names, man. I'm telling you. I think everybody from now on should be named Don Smith, Doug Wilson, Cindy Michaels, and Bob Johnson. Yes, right. That's what I think. Yeah, just KISS, right? All right. So I'm trying to bring Facebook up because there's something I want to talk about. We were going to have a guest today, but I guess they couldn't make it. Traffic, of course, here in Los Angeles. What can you say about traffic in Los Angeles except say traffic in Los Angeles? It is the worst place in the United States of America to live. Did you know that now that L.A. has won the award for being the worst place in America to live? The quality of life? Yeah. And I blame the homeless for that. It's all the homeless problem because 2/3 of them don't want to go into shelters because they don't want to give up their drugs and alcohol. I saw a guy walking on the freeway on the way into the station today. A dude's walking on the freeway, man. He can't be much more than 29, right? And he's walking on the freeway, and 29. Man, he should be out like getting a job or doing something, anything. But no, he's looked like he was strung out on some sort of drugs. You know, when they cleaned up that Santa Ana River down there a couple of months ago, they found. On the first day, they found 5,000 used hypodermic needles. In the first day alone, it took them 12 days to fix that problem. They put all those people in Motel 6s and places to house them, and then they gave them a free month that they paid for, the taxpayers. And then they went back to see if all those people wanted to go into shelters, and over half of them said no, because they got to live under rules and restrictions, and they got to give up their drugs, and they got to do a pee test and a blood test and all that stuff. And no, they don't want to do that. So, but yeah, it's just terrible. And the trash in Los Angeles is just mounting and mounting because there's big trash wars going on with some of these big trash companies. And yes, our wonderful esteemed mayor who thinks he wants to be president someday. Can you imagine that guy being president? Mayor Garcetti, old baggy pants. Yeah, no way. You know, that guy. You know, the only reason why they've got that money now for the homeless because he does want to make a run for the either governor maybe at the last minute or the presidential election. He does want to make a run, and he's got to do something that's kind of big and audacious. So all of a sudden he comes up with money, right? He comes up with money for the homeless, and it's unbelievable. They're going to build all this housing. Isn't that great? They built some housing once in the city of Sun Valley. And you know, I'm a real estate broker. We're going to talk today about some pretty scary stuff that's coming down financially. And you guys got to really listen to what I'm going to be telling you. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the economics of the planet and some things that are starting to brouhaha that I'm seeing again in a much, much worse way. We're going to be talking about that in just a second. But in the city of Sun Valley, they built this beautiful homeless facility. It is beautiful, 4 stories. The apartments are the size of like 1,500 square foot apartments to 2,000 square foot apartments. That's bigger than my house, man. My house is like 1,500 square feet, right? And all the newest amenities. I mean, all the new cool stuff, like Viking stoves. Viking stoves are like $5,000 a piece. They built this thing. They built this beautiful building. I remember going through it. And I said, God, these people live better than anybody I know in this community, unless you have rehabbed your house and put a ton of money in it. Saying hi to Michael Lenelli, who has us on. Thanks, Michael, for checking in with us. Appreciate that. Kelly Fettig, who's in town visiting her daughter, Lisa French. And yes, the 2 L's have been around Los Angeles there doing all the stuff back. Oh, wait, she says she's going back to Michigan where the life is slow-paced. Isn't that interesting? Somebody comes here from Michigan. Can you imagine being dropped off here from Michigan and experiencing L.A. and then going back to Michigan? You talk about a yo-yo effect on your life. I mean, welcome to L.A., and then you get to go back where life is a little slower pace in Michigan. Still kind of cold back there, too, right now. But nevertheless, they built this thing, and it's better than anybody is living. It's just unbelievable. This was about 15 years ago when they started doing this homeless stuff. And these people live there for free. So they put a whole bunch of people in there, and they aren't there for just a month. They're there as long as they can qualify to stay there. Well, they have to do certain drug testing and certain alcohol testing, and they have to do certain job education, and they have to do all this stuff. Well, within the first month, everybody vacated the place because they didn't want to live by the rules. So they only had a few in there. Then they put a whole nother swarm of people in there. And a couple, 2-3 months later, they were all gone. And they put another swarm of people in there. And then that place has been like a place where you go to get out of the rain and have a beautiful air conditioner on a hot summer day. and you stay there, and then you can't qualify for the first go-round because you don't want to get off your drugs. And that's where I learned that most of these homeless people that are out there are there because they want to be there. They actually want to be there. They like not having any rules. They like living that vagabond kind of hobo lifestyle, you know. And so I saw this guy walking on the freeway, and I'm saying to myself, oh, man, you know. So L.A., beautiful Los Angeles, we love it. A lot of good spots in L.A. if you got some money. If you don't have any money in L.A., oh, man, life isn't so good. That's for sure. It's tough. I mean, you can't rent an apartment now for less than $1,500 a month, a one-bedroom apartment in a decent zip code. And when I say decent zip code, I'm not talking Beverly Hills here. I'm talking about North Hollywood. I'm talking about City of San Gabriel in the county. I'm talking about Central Los Angeles. I mean, even everywhere. It's very expensive. Get a ticket. Make sure you don't get a ticket till next. I believe it's statewide. Is that they finally got it passed through that if you get a ticket, I don't care what the ticket's for, moving violation or whatever, fix-it ticket, and you don't pay for the ticket, okay? They used to do two things. They would send you to GCI Services, which is the collection agent for the court system. GCI Services. Jesse Earl Leopard has us on. Thanks a lot, Jesse. It's a collection agent for the LA court system, GCI Services. And then they would also send you to the DMV. The DMV would be notified that you didn't pay your ticket, and then your license would be suspended either immediately or when you went to renew it. And I remember when it was just went to renew, and they changed that to immediately. So you get a letter that says that you have been suspended. And so what they're doing now, though, there's this big movement in Sacramento. Sacramento is the capital of the state of California. It's where the assembly and the senators are for the state, and the mayor goes up there and visits, and the governor, yours truly, the social communist, up there, El Stupido Brown, who's got to be absolutely insane. I think he's just insane. He's gone Looney Tunes. That's all there is to it. They've been this big push to get this passage of this bill signed that says if you don't pay your ticket, they're going to send you to GI Services, which is collection, but they're not going to suspend your license. Yeah. They're not going to get your license suspended. That's right. So you don't have to worry about that starting next month. So if you get pulled over by CHP, LAPD, Monterey Park, whatever, it doesn't matter. Tell them, look, can you give me the ticket next month on the 1st? Because then at least you won't have your license suspended if you decide not to pay the ticket. Well, people say, well, that's how they make their money. No, they really don't. They don't make their money there. Apparently, the ends doesn't justify the means, because there's 448,000 people in the state of California right now who have suspended licenses, okay, according to the DMV. So the collection of the monies that come in from those licenses does not account out at the end of the day. In other words, suspending your license costs the state more than just sending you to collections. So they're not making any money putting you on suspension, because it does a couple of things. The ramifications of that is that when people have a suspended license, the ones that don't drive, what they do is they can't get to work. They lose their jobs. They can't pick their kids up. They can't get to the hospitals. It costs them more money. Unemployment, homeless. It starts going down that path. And so the state and the county and the city here in Los Angeles has come to the determination that we're not going to suspend your license because you got to keep working. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'll tell you this much. There are going to be a whole lot of people getting tickets now that aren't going to worry, because that suspended license has always been something that is like an albatross hanging over your head when you get your ticket and you realize you don't have enough money to pay it. So, I think we're just going to have a lot more people driving with tickets and in collections. That's what I think. It's kind of goofy the way they think about things here in Sacramento. It really is. Saying hi to Patty Geeks, Patty Greeks, Patty Geekies, Patty Greekies. Hey, Jesse. Hey, thanks. You sound great. Thanks a lot, Patty. I believe that. Wait a minute. Is that Patty? Paddy? I've never seen Patty. I've seen Patty Cake. Patty Cake Bakers, man, make me a cake as fast as you can. But I've never seen a name by somebody's name Patty. It's usually TTY, but that must be a guy's name. Yes, and Greeks, Greekss, yes. Cool name. Mark Morales has us on. Thanks a lot, Mark. And Irene McClain has us on. Thanks a lot, Eileen. And our friends over there at Monaco Restaurant, they have us on. Appreciate that, guys. How things going? Checking in here on Instagram Live at Jesse Torero. And, of course, on Facebook.com/Jesse Torero. Right here on The Power of Voices, it's the Jesse T Show. So, look, I want to talk about something that I think is really important. I'm reading several books right now. One of the books I'm reading is by Jerome Corsi. It's a book about the deep state and how it's destroying America. It's not a political book. It looks at all angles and makes some distinguishing facts. There's another book I'm reading by Peter Schweizer that talks about the Clinton mafia cash load and also exposing the Obama cash that he made and the Joseph Biden cash and all that stuff. It's a little more politically charged. I'm reading another book which has to do with Spartan working out, for Spartan races that I'm doing. I'm reading another book. It's a 1,500-page book. I ordered it. I finally got it in. It's a terrific book about. It's actually the modern political science, political system in America. A doctor was asked by a university, one of the Ivy League universities, to write a thesis, a book about political science. And it is the benchmark for what everything has happened politically in the realm of politics, the business of politics. It's a fantastic book. I've read about 200 pages. I got 1,200 to go. So, and I'm reading another book that I just got. It is a terrific book by this guy, and you got to check it out. And I've been taking his newsletters. I like a guy by the name of Peter Schiff. He's caught a lot of this stuff that's happened in the last 20 years right on the money. But this guy, Craig R. Smith, is really terrific. And what he has to say about what's happening is pretty friggin' scary about what's going on here in the world financially. Just let me give you a little bit about this. Now, look at guys, this has nothing to do with the politics of Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with anything that he does. Any of the things that Obama did, which I think there was not much good from that. Anything the Bush has done, which I think there was not much good from that. And the Clintons, not much good from that. This has to do with what has transpired over the last 40 to 50 years of our political system and the politicians, the professional politicians making decisions for our country economically and financially, both Republican and Democrat, because I've always said that they're cut from the same stone. They drink the same water. They're governed and owned by the same entity, the corporations, and the corporations are owned by the banks, and the banks are owned by the insurance companies, and the insurance companies are owned by the Vatican, because the Vatican has made this alliance with Jewish bankers that run the IMF now, but way back when were the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers became part of that because they were so darn wealthy. They couldn't denounce them, and as well as others that have fallen under that. So that's my precedent of where I always argue from. But the point is, there's stuff happening now that reminds me so much in my business career. I've been a real estate broker for 40 years. I've owned 3 real estate offices, a loan office, and I've been a guy who's done a lot of loans over 25 years, commission notary. I just got my new commission, by the way. I let that lapse, silly me. But I've been doing business for a long time and helping lots of folks, thousands and thousands of transactions. I've been through it all. I've been through every up and down since 1976. When I first got into the real estate business at 16, I wasn't licensed because you couldn't be licensed then. I just was working for my mom, who had a license, Red Carpet real estate office in North Hollywood. And I just, doing filing and that kind of stuff. But I've been around it my whole life. And so I've been a part of every up and down swing that we've been through since 1976. I mean, I remember the Carter interest rates being 16, 17, 18, 19. It peaked out at 21%. And I did have my license at that time. I remember when Reaganomics kicked in and the interest rates just dropped and the business exploded. I also remember, the dot-com explosion and how that destroyed so many people's 401ks. And I remember when they stopped giving pensions to corporations and the 401ks started and kicked in. The IRAs were first, and then the CDs, and then the 401ks. I remember after the dot-com explosion, of course, the different stock downward cycles that have happened. I mean, there was one day, I can't remember what it was called, Black Friday or something, or Dark Monday or Black Monday, where the stock market dropped like 700 points. I remember, of course, the 2008 subprime blow up. I remember the deficit when it was only $1 billion, a couple $1 billion, and now it's over 20 trillion, moving on to 30 trillion by the time it's all said and done over the next couple of years. So there's some things that are happening now on the financial scene and that I just wanted to address. And this guy here, Craig R. Smith, you need to check him out. Saying hi to Elena Beck. I'm going to get him on the show, by the way. Richard Shimura is checking in too, because this is fascinating stuff. Let me tell you a little bit about this guy, Craig R. Smith, and we're going. As I said, I'm going to get him on the show. He is a investor, author, businessman, commentator, economic analyst. He's a professional here. He's been on all the business channels many, many times. Wrote a dozen books. He has a monthly newsletter. It's pretty phenomenal. And this guy has called every single thing that has happened like Nostradamus, man. This guy's predictions aren't predictions. They're rooted out of business and rooted out of experience and rooted out of just facts. Pure, simple, distilled facts that are just there. And I've been following a lot of different analysis guys, financial guys that have all this alphabet soup in front of their name and behind their name. A whole bunch of them. I've been following about 20 or 30 guys, gals too. And they're all saying the same thing, that we are going to have an economic implosion, bank failure, that is going to make everything that's happened to this country, even the Great Depression, look like a child. And it's coming. It's looming and it's coming fast. And it has nothing to do anymore with the decisions that politicians made. According to Craig Smith, after the last budget that was signed by Trump. And I'll explain this to you in a second. But this is scary stuff. Because if you remember the subprime blow-up, we had so many foreclosures. There were so many foreclosures. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac almost went out of existence. All the banks were reeling in major debt, foreclosure debt. They started making all those fancy loans, in the 1990s, and they're starting to do them again. You're starting to see advertisements everywhere. Get a home equity line. That's the first one that they do. Then low interest rates, and then teaser rates, and then adjustable rates, and then 100% financing, because they can sell all that off. All that could be sold off to the United States government, which is the taxpayer. And guys, when our economic situation blows up in this country in the next couple of years, 2-3 years, there's not going to be any bailout like there was before. That's over with. There will not be any bailout. There's going to be a restart, which they should have did. They should have let General Motors fall apart. They should have just let some of these banks go bankrupt. They should not have bailed them out the last time. That was the wrong thing to do. And I was yelling for, don't bail them out. Let business take them out of the business, and a healthy entity replace them. Like Ford was very healthy. General Motors was terrible. But they bailed them out, and they bailed the banks out. Trillions and trillions of dollars. So there's not going to be any bailout. So Craig Smith is really interesting. Peter Schiff. There's so many guys. Hoagland. There's so many people that are talking about this. You've got to start paying attention to this, because your family and your livelihood and your ability to have some sort of quality of life is right at the edge. We've gone over the cliff as far as I'm concerned. We have too much debt to ever grow our way out of it. Deshaun McMillan is checking in. Elena Beck is checking in. Thanks a lot. We can't grow our way out of this debt service. It's just beyond our ability now. With the signing of this last budget that Trump signed, he said, don't ever put this one by me again. I'll never sign it. This $1 trillion budget, which is only good till September or October of this year. And then they're going to have to do it again. With this $1 trillion budget, that's put us over the cliff. Totally. We're going to be seeking budgets of deficits of $30 trillion in the next couple of years. We're going to have a deferred debt service in this country. Right now, it's at about $125 to $30 trillion. Okay? It's going to be $165 to $180 trillion. We'll never pay off the debt service. America's gross national product is only 18 trillion bucks, 19 trillion bucks. China is 14 trillion, and they're having a hard time. They might go belly up. China's in some severe economic problems. You never get reported on that. So the world right now, the world's debt, every country on God's blue-green earth is just under $200 trillion, like $185 trillion. They're projecting that within the next 10 years or so, America's debt alone is going to be $170 trillion. These numbers are so huge, we're never going to recover from it. You better expect gasoline at $8 to $12 a gallon. Oh, we'll survive. But milk is going to cost you $12.50. Your power and your water at home is going to be $300 to $500 a month on what is a $30 to $75 a bill right now. Things are going to just rise exponentially, because the only way that they're going to be able to keep up with the international markets, America, is to print more money. It's not backed by anything, by gold, silver, nothing. See, this is why all the nations of the world, our enemy states, are buying up so much gold. This is why Russia and China are buying up so much gold, and India, the largest purchasers of gold on the market right now. And the reason is because what do they know? What do they know that you and I don't even think about? Well, I'm here to help you think about that a little bit. I'm going to bring some of these experts in. I'm just kind of priming the pump a little bit. Your $15 an hour raise in your job is going to be worth diddly squat. In the next 10 years, 30% of all employment in America is going to be unemployable because AI and robotic mechanisms are going to be kicking in. I mean, look at people don't even go out to get their fast food. They get Grubhub to give it to them now. So many people don't even buy their clothes online. They buy them online. Books are gone. Books are gone. People buy them online. They don't even get a book. What they do now is they just read it off of Kindle type platforms. See, things are changing. You don't even have to buy a car at the car lot now. Forget CarMax. You can go on Fair, the Fair app. You can get your financing, your insurance, and your car right there in 10 minutes, and it'll be delivered to you in 3 days. Yeah. And their lending practices are very loose. It's tiered based on your credit. It's pretty unbelievable. So what's happening is you're looking at an unemployment of 30% of the population are not going to have a job in 10 years. And all those people are not going to get retooled. They're not going to get re-educated because look who's coming out of college. Check this out. The largest population of birth since the baby boomers are the millennials. They surpass the amount of babies, 80 million babies that were born in America. They're the largest population being born, and they're all in their 20s now. They're all coming through the colleges and the educational centers. They live, breathe this IT stuff like wiping snot from their nose. How can you compete with that when you're 45? When some whiz gal is there, some whiz kid who's lived this whole stuff, they're not going to hire you. And you're not going to be able to get a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken because it's all going to be done by robots. Oh, they'll have a few workers in there, of course. But they're not going to have a team of 20 people. The average team in your local McDonald's, they are employing 100 people. 100 people. That average McDonald's, with all the shifts that they work and the janitors and all that stuff, almost 100 people get employed at every McDonald's. They got kiosks right now at McDonald's. Did you know so many businesses are going out of business? Foot Locker's closing over 200 stores. Foot Locker. I rattled this off yesterday, a couple of days ago. It's unbelievable. Best Buy's is closing almost 300 stores. How can Best Buy's compete with Amazon? How can they? They can't. And how many people are employed at your big box Best Boy? That's a lot of people. They can't compete, and they're going to be gone. And those people who are 30 years old today are going to be 40 in 10 years. Who do you think is going to get the job? The 30-year-old or the 40-year-old? The 30-year-old that grew up with this stuff or the 40-year-old that had to learn it? Who's that not educated in the way that 30, because that's all they're learning in school now. Liberal arts, forget it. You can't make any money. All the schools are directing their students to learn engineering, to learn IT, the computers, medical. Because there's a baby boom generation and another generation after that are going to get old and sick. All right? So you see, just from that point alone, we are in for some times coming here that are going to shock you, that are going to make anything that you and I living today have ever been through pale in comparison. You tell me, how can the housing prices today in California, in Los Angeles, the average price in LA City, $605,000. You tell me how anybody can afford that. That's not your palace. That's just your house. Down in Watts, you can't buy a house in Watts. If you perceive Watts as being a crime-infested zone, well, you're right. You can't buy a house down there for less than $400,000. Now, I find them because I'm good at it. I find these little jewels, but there's only one or two or three. I've got 10 foreclosures in Orange County right now. Orange County, right? OC, one of the most expensive counties in the state of California. I got 10 foreclosures directly from the 5 major banks at 53 cents on the dollar. Now, let me tell you why I'm on this topic. Because it blows my mind. Because this reminds me of 2005. When all of a sudden, we were getting foreclosures. All of a sudden, Fannie Mae agents and reps were getting tons and tons of listings. 30, 40, 50 listings apiece. Freddie Mac, the banks, asset management companies were popping up everywhere. It's because there was so many foreclosures. The fancy loans. Well, the banks are doing the fancy loans again because prices are escalating. And they can shove that off to the taxpayer because Fannie Mae was funded and so was Freddie Mac. They were bailed out. Maybe they should have just been left to fall apart because the restart is going to happen, and it's going to happen now. It's coming, and it's coming fast. Let me read you something. This guy, Craig Smith, it's unbelievable what this guy's been around a long time. He contends that the recent passage of the $1.3 trillion omnibus spending bill, which funds the federal government only until September 30th, like I said, marks the beginning of the end for the American economy. As the deficit for this year will rise to $800 billion. That's just the deficit for 1 year. 800. The Republicans sold out America. The Dems did it a long time ago. And the Republicans just did it. Congress, Paul Ryan, all those scallywags, those low-life, greedy rat bastards, they sold you out. They sold you out because they did the same thing Obama, the same thing Bush, the same thing Clinton. They did the same things. How can you have the House, the Senate, and the presidency and sign a $1.3 trillion bill? We don't have $1.3 trillion, guys. They got to print that money up. You know what happens when they print paper? The ink dries. And then you want to know what happens? It gets flooded into the marketplace. And then you want to know what happens? There's something called inflation. Inflation goes up when funny money is in the marketplace. The Fed is in charge of keeping inflation down. So they lower the interest rate to offset the inflated marketplace by the funny money. That's one of the things that they do. Well, they can't lower it any more than what they're lowering it because now it's at roughly 4.5%, the interest rate. The bank borrows from the Fed at 4.5%. Okay? Then they lend it to us. And the bank lends it to us at 5 and 6 and 7. That's where the bank makes their money. The Fed's actual cost of making that money is about 2%. So the Fed makes about 2%. But you see, here's the problem. When you get down into those low interest rates, and this is what we experienced, you got something that's called reverse negative inflation. This is what the term that they were using for the last 5 or 6 years is all about, quantitative easing. The quantitative easing, which you don't hear that much anymore because they raised the interest rate. But when you start getting down the rate down to 3 to 2 to 1 to 0, quantitative easing is just a fancy word for saying them friggin' jerks are in the negative and printing up more money. So if the Fed can't regulate the interest rate to offset the inflation, then you create hyperinflation, where an apple, instead of costing you 99 cents a pound for that apple, it costs you $7 a pound for that apple. That's what's coming. Because we have gone off the cliff. Forget it. We cannot produce enough money in this country to offset what's happened. It's over with. This is further what Craig Smith says. You better be ready for it, guys. I'm telling you right now, this reminds me of 2005. I saw it coming. I saw it coming. It didn't affect me till 2009, but everybody I knew in my business got jacked in 2007, 8. I didn't get jacked till about 2009, 10. And I thought I had enough savings. I saved like a little demon. I thought I had enough, and none of it was in the bank. Because under Dodd-Frank, you don't know this. But I'm going to tell you. You go find and read the fine print of Dodd-Frank. Do you know you don't own your money anymore when it's put in the bank? It's not your money. It's not your money, ladies and gentlemen. It's not your money. The passage of Dodd-Frank, which I fought against, the passage of Dodd-Frank, there's a clause in the Dodd-Frank bill, which is like 4 feet tall. The bill's got so many freaking words in it, it's like a stack of 4 feet tall. They don't even read that stuff. And neither do we. Dodd-Frank gave the banks the right to take your money and call it their own. So when you go in there with a check and you want to pull out $1,000, oh, they'll give it to you. But they don't have to. They don't have to. It's my money. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. I put it in. Sorry. When you open up a savings account, you signed your name. And we are controlled by Dodd-Frank. That's the law. That's the law of the land. And Dodd-Frank says, that's our money. And we'll give it to you. We'll give it back to you when we damn well want to. You go ahead and check me out. They don't have to give it back to you when you demand it. Yeah. So you think when the stuff hits the fan, you're going to go take all your money out of the bank? Sorry, you won't get a dime. Because the bank is going to use that money. Oh, let's say a bank goes belly up, closes the doors, okay? Like 600 banks did in 2008 to 2010. And I think that number is even greater. I stopped counting at 600. It used to be a website. I stopped. You think I'm wrong? You think the FDIC is going to pay you your $250,000 insurance? Oh, you're satisfied. Oh, I got insurance. You don't have insurance. Oh, yeah, I do. They're going to pay me. I got $25,000 in the bank. I got $193,000 in the bank. I got $62,500. I got $1,500 in the bank. If the bank goes belly up and locks the doors and they can't pay me, then the federal government will pay me. Yeah, right? I bet you don't know this. FDI insurance does not have to pay you for 10 years. $10 years. They can take 10 years to pay you your money that's insured by the United States government. FDIC. Go read the rules. So do you think for an instance that you're going to be healthy financially when the you-know-what hits the fan? And it's going to hit the fan, folks. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it at the street level. I'm seeing it in the real estate. Because you see, so goes real estate, so goes the nation. Because we are a nation of middle-class people. Still, we're one of the few places in the world that still has a sound, somewhat strong middle class. Okay? We're a nation of that. But so goes the middle class who owns real estate to live in when they can't afford it anymore. When you can't afford to sell your house because nobody will buy it, because nobody can afford it, your price goes down. And when that happens, you lose. Your 401ks, they're saying a 40% change in the stock market in the next 5 to 10 years. The stock market could lose 40% of its value. It's going to happen. It's coming. That trillion-plus debt package they signed, that put us over. Check this out. So Craig Smith continues to talk about this. This is just a little blurb. I'm getting his books. Starting in 2020, we're going to run trillion-dollar deficits for years to come. That's just 2 years, he continued, adding that the global debt is now higher. This is a killer statement. The global debt is now higher than it was during the 2008 financial crisis. He's talking about going through a major global reset. Global reset. He's looking at all the IMF facts, the ones that own all the central banks in the world. He's looking at that, and he's warned about a global reset. And this is going to include big drops in the stock market with high inflation. Now, he predicts the crisis is going to start around the first quarter of 2020, when America will no longer, and this is a true statement, when America will no longer be able to finance its ballooning debt, just like what happened to iHeart and Clear Channel. They can't finance their debt. That's why iHeart went into bankruptcy, the big radio conglomerate, because they can't finance the debt service anymore. That's what's happening to America. He cautioned the U.S. petrol. Now, this is the killer, guys. 2 days after, this is the killer. I'm going to end here and talk about something else because I got a solution. This is the killer, okay? 2 to 3 days. See, none of this is ever told to you in the news. We're worried about how big Donald Trump's penis is. We're worried about how big the breasts of the whore Storm. We're worried about did he fart sideways in a hotel in Russia? We're worried about whether Obama's wife is a guy. That's what we're worried about. That's what they sell us, man. Don't you get it? It's a big friggin' distraction. They don't want you to know this. This is news because this stuff affects your life forever. Check this out. 3 days after that debt service bill was signed. Check this out. This is going to blow you away. And I talked about this a year and a half ago. He cautioned that the U.S. petrodollar, which has served as the world's reserve currency since the 1970s, the petrodollar are dollars that are based out of petroleum. That's the American dollar. You can't buy oil from an oil-making, producing country unless you use dollars. Okay? Is now facing competition from China. The new petro yuan. Now, that's some scary stuff. That's dangerous. Because soon as we lose the number one spot on the monetary international currency reserve, we are over with. England used to be it. After World War II, we got it. Spain used to be it. After the Spanish and English wars, where England won them all in the ocean, England got it. We've had it since the end of World War II. Our time is up. So, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Well, you're gonna feel the pain, just like me. We're all gonna feel the pain. It's coming, and none of us are gonna be able to get around it. None of us will be able to get around it. I don't care, but do you think Bezos cares? He goes from worth $100 billion down to $50 billion. You think he is really going to hurt Gates and Buffett and Slim out of Mexico, the mega mogul entertainment mogul in Mexico. You think Soros is going to worry? No, they're not going to worry. You think the Queen of England and the Vatican and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are going to worry? No. This is what you need to do, guys. This is what I'm doing. Take it for what it is. You got to get out of all your debt. You got to be debt-free. And that's mortgage debt, too. So you got to sell that place that you got mortgage debt, man, and you got to buy someplace where you don't have any mortgage debt. And if you can't, then that should be the only debt you have. Now, I'm not a financial certified planner or anything like this. This is what I'm doing. Because I've been through this now 3 times. And I've lost everything twice. And I've got stuff now I don't want to lose. Okay? Buy bonds. Because we're about ready to move into the largest bear market and the longest bear market we've ever seen in this country, in this world. And bonds do really well in bear markets because they're long term. Okay? Buy gold and silver. Stuff you can put in your safe. Don't buy certificates. Buy the gold and silver bullion. Buy it. Okay? Get some dirty silver. That's coinage. That's all coins produced in America before 1965. They all have silver in them. Some of them have 100%, like a silver dollar, silver 50-cent pieces. I remember those. The quarters, nickels, and dimes. The stock market is going to crash by 40%. Take 40% of your money out, even from your 401k. Put it somewhere else. Prepare, buy food, water, medicine, medical items, firearms, other types of weapons. Get training in combat fighting, survival skills, bullets, gas, diesel, bug-out vehicle, bug-out location, tools, survival gear of all types. Take money out of the bank because under Dodd-Frank, like I explained, the banks don't have to give it back to you. And they won't until they darn well want to. And that's law, and you won't be able to do anything about it. Remember, when the bank goes belly up, FDIC, we talked about that. So take that big money out of the bank. Buy a safe. Put your weapons, ammo, gold, silver, dirty silver, and cash in the vaults or vault. Turn your cash into gold, silver, and precious metals because your money is as good as the paper it's printed on, not backed by anything or collateral assets like gold and silver. The implosion is about to happen, guys. Hyperinflation. 20 to 30% loss in jobs to IT, robotics, and computerization and automation. It's coming. Heed my words. I'm trying to say this as straight as I can because, hey, I want you to survive through it. We're all going to get hit hard. Gas is going to be $9 a gallon. Can you imagine? The Jesse T Show. Covering everything. Not letting anything go by. That's the world according to Torero. And you're straight on the point. Saying hi and thanks to April Looney. I'm Lourdes LD Stefano. Jesse and the Fancy Cats. John Nicastro. Sal Cimino Escamillo. Jeff Weisler. Patty Banner. Christy Morrell, Deshaun McMillan, Ellen Beck, Richard Shimura, Patty Geeks, Mark Morales, Jesse Earl Leppert, and the list goes on. Facebook.com/Jesse Torero, archived up now on YouTube as well, and on Instagram. We're archived up. Thanks a lot. Hey, we've got a great show coming up here tomorrow, and so you stay tuned. We're live at 5, always right here on the Jesse T Show. Dan the Man, the Road Dog King, and I are going to be out catching the vibe on the Jesse T Extravaganza. The Brown Beauty's off duty. See ya!